Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/slash Tales from Tech Support. In today's episode, that's been broken ever since we got it. The opposite of read-only Friday. The user is always right. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. That's been broken ever since we got it. First, some background. I work in a research and development laboratory as a team of two where we use a number of different specialized pieces of equipment including data acquisition systems, high-speed cameras, electric pulse and function generators, and temperature chambers. Our IT people don't support this equipment, so if something goes down, we're on our own. I've quickly learned the value of RTFM. We have a sister site that does mostly production work. Their test department does real simple stuff with a smaller range of equipment following well-established procedures, although some steps are unwritten. As such, the tech in that department has generally not needed to be technically savvy, and so the man who was in that position, we'll call him Jim for no particular reason, put little to no effort to actually understand the equipment he was using. Jim's two solutions to problems were either to give up and ignore it or call us if it was something he couldn't ignore. This meant our sister site accumulated a lot of broken equipment. To be fair to Jim, a decent amount was actually broken, as we have come to expect given we're testing explosives, but there were times when things just needed a little bit of TLC or buttons pressed in the right order. Jim recently retired and his replacement, Mark, got the bare minimum in terms of training from Jim, and now Mark has basically been thrown into the deep end. Fortunately, Mark seems up to the task, and at the very least was shown the things that only exist as tribal knowledge rather than being written down and documented. A few weeks ago, I was at our sister site to do some testing we couldn't do at my home site. Mark is helping out as a training opportunity, and his own testing is dead in the water, because the guy he's been working with who has the special license we need to do the testing is in vacation and Mark doesn't have one yet. Well, good news. I have this special license, and it looks like my testing is going to finish early. Let's prep the test samples and get Mark moving on his stuff, because it's holding up production. It's also a good opportunity for me to see what they actually do for testing here since I've never seen it, and their written procedure sucks. Prep involves conditioning some samples at an elevated temperature. Easy enough as both sites have a couple of temperature chambers for this. We go where they keep these chambers. The big one's already in use on something. Then the following, paraphrased, conversation happens. Mark: I guess we can't test. Me: what? Why? Mark: someone else is using the oven. Me: points to other chambers sitting dormant. What about this one? Starts punching in our target temp of 250 F. Mark: that's been broken ever since we got it. Me: broken how? Suspicious that a $10,000 plus piece of equipment has never worked. Mark: it won't stay at temp. Me: taking a closer look, looks like it's throwing an alarm. Mark: yeah, Jim couldn't figure out how to stop it, so he just silenced it. Me: tapping buttons on the limit control panel. Do you guys have the manual? Mark: I don't think so. Me: alright, let's find one. And we're off to Google. A few minutes and a manual is printing. I send Mark to grab it while I go back to the oven to see if I can figure out what the issue is. This chamber being new, its control panel and limit control panel are different from what we've got at my home site. Fumbling through the menu, I figure out the alarm is for a limit being exceeded, and therefore power to the heating element is cut off. I fumble my way to see the limits are set to 300 and -10. Okay, even if that was in Celsius, we should be well within that. WTF. Mark comes in with the manual. As I'm rifling through, I realize this manual is for a temperature controller with the same model number, and not a limiter. Back to Google. Model number limit goes into the search bar. Bingo. I do a quick skim to make sure I have the right thing before I print off another 100-page document. Then I come to a realization. I sit up and look at the wall in the direction the chamber is in. I think I figured it out. Mark and I head over, and I start tapping away at panel. Yep. Someone coughed. Jimco mixed up the low and high end limits, so the chamber would throw alarms and not work if the temperature was between -10°F and 300°F, which it always would be. 30 seconds later, we had a second fully functional temperature chamber, and testing could continue. I then proceeded to watch in horror as I find out this test the company has been doing for decades is unreliable, a bit unsafe, incredibly unscientific, and takes longer than it has any right to, but that's a tale for a different subreddit, probably. The opposite of read-only Friday. So this happened today. My team is in charge of hardware at a government-funded research lab. We crunch enormous amounts of data on extremely powerful hardware. A researcher once told me 500 terabytes would be considered a small dataset. Roughly half our computing estate of 2,000 machines is dedicated to processing batch jobs. It gets expanded every year, sometimes more than once, according to the budget. There's around 100 machines in each generation. Usually, there's a fairly formal commissioning process, involving benchmarking and stress testing to find any potential lemons, as well as collect power use stats for the data center operators. However, a combination of factors, and COVID, has led to a noticeable part of the current batch farm being unavailable for jobs at present, and many delays in us getting last year's hardware ready to rack. As a result, our team has been under pressure to get the latest generation into use as quickly as possible. For those who like hardware, if I said each machine has 64 cores, 128 threads, 512 gigabytes of RAM, 4 terabytes of SSD and 25 gigabits Ethernet, and there's 110 of them, imagine how eager the guys who run the software side of the farm are to get their hands on them. These machines run flat out 24/7/365 for about 5 years of service. So, we accommodate as best we can. We get the hardware racked, 5 racks worth, new switches and PDUs installed and configured to monitor network and power, spec the machines in our management infrastructure, and set them up for automatic install. We put an OS on to check the machines work, then we update all the firmware to latest before running our benchmarks. Unfortunately, we hit a snag here unbeknownst to us. This brand new generation of machines has a quirk whereby updating the BIOS resets it to factory defaults. The supplier we bought the machines from has specifically tweaked the BIOS for us for maximum performance. The defaults result in a 30% drop in performance. And it's not a simple process to put it all back by hand. So that set us back by over a day. A colleague and I had to change the boot settings on all 110 machines by hand just to get them to start up. But it'll be worth it, right? So after finally being told about a tool that can reapply the BIOS settings in bulk, we move to the next step in the process: benchmarking. We decide on a truncated series of tests that'll give us the numbers we need, but nothing more. These take about 24 hours to run. A colleague even remotes in on his day off to collect the outputs, so we can hand over the machines today. Usually we do a fresh install of the machines before handover to remove our benchmark stuff, but my boss, under pressure, agrees to hand them over as is, and let the software team handle the rest through config management. Being government, one of the perks of this place is leaving an hour early on Fridays. So there I am an hour later, still on my work laptop, browsing Reddit, when who should pop up on Slack, but the head of the software team, the guy we handed these machines over to only hours earlier. $ST, 1707. Hey $me. The new machines haven't picked up their config management profiles. I try to SSH into them, and I get a password prompt, rather than normal key off. I know it's late on Friday, but can you quickly poke a machine or two and tell me what the state of them is? $me, 1708. That's unusual, what did you apply? $ST, I set all the machines to reinstall the OS. I want to run a newer kernel, and doing this on a running OS would cause package conflicts. At 5 p.m. on Friday? I open up the IPMI to one of the machines and check. It's running its usual post-installation script on a good day. Our automated installation setup will finish in 30 to 40 minutes. On these blazing fast SSD-based machines, 20 is more normal, so these have definitely been started after most people left for the day. I move on to the next machine in the batch. A random bug in the post-installation system is that sometimes the network doesn't come up on first boot. It's unpredictable, but without network, the script just hard errors out and leaves you with a blank machine, no accounts, no software, nada. The only way in is via the local console as root. Experience tells me new hardware is particularly susceptible to the bug. Sure enough, the next machine is running the base kernel. Signing into the console, I find the logs indicate the bug struck. Okay, not complicated, bring the network up manually and restart the script, which will configure the network permanently. Right, one down. Alright, 108 more to go. I'm the only one from the team still online, and the only $1 can see who knows the root passwords. I plod through about 20 machines and get them all kicked in the right direction before deciding I can't spend my entire weekend doing this. $ST is grateful for the ones that are now running. The rest will have to wait in their limbo state until Monday. When me and whoever else I can convince to help, will have to go through the remaining $N machines, manually open the console, log in and run the magic commands to complete the post-install stuff. Suffice to say, $ST will be buying donuts next week. Moral of the story: when weekend clocking off time rolls around, close your company IM immediately. The user is always right. Quick background. I work for an MSP, and we rent space in one of our clients' buildings. One of the users from said client, which I provide the on-site support for, submitted a ticket. One note. Me. Okay? Very descriptive. So I go and ask her what's going on. She has tried to reset her password and she tells me that she cannot reset her password. I ask her, "Did you forget your password?" She says, "Yeah, I changed my email password, but I can't remember what it is." To which I reply, "Okay, but you're logged into the computer." She looks at me and says, "Well, yeah." I tell her okay. Use that password to sign into OneNote. She tells me no, I changed the password. The passwords are different. I tell her no. AD and Azure are synced, which means that your desktop password and your email password are the same. Again, the user tells me no, I changed my email password. I say, "Well, you can't change your email password without changing your desktop password, and your desktop password is working, so can you please try?" She again proceeds to tell me how I'm wrong. Finally, her coworker speaks up and tells her, he is right, just try it. Reluctantly, she agrees to try it, making it known that she doesn't think it will work. She inputs her computer password and boom. She's logged in. Can you imagine that?